Hi, everyone, and welcome to Studio Jake. I, of course, am your host, Jacob Airy. Thank you so much for joining me on my vidcast where I talk about all things pop culture, from anime to television to film, and so much more. I would really appreciate it if you would like this video, leave me a comment, tell me what you think, share out the video to everyone, and I would really appreciate it if you would subscribe. I'm trying to make it to 1,000 subscribers. I am over 700, so any and all support at the moment would be fantastic. I really appreciate it. I'm not one of these YouTubers who are like, oh, it's all about me. No, I know it's because of you, and I greatly appreciate it. So today, wanted to talk about Disney. So there's a few rumors floating around, and I just want to say from the outset, I could be totally wrong, but about my upcoming speculation. But I wanted to talk about a few rumors that have been floating around that I've heard in the industry and what that entails and my thoughts on these rumors. So I'm going to go through a handful, not very many, but just what I think. So this is actually not a rumor, but I wanted to just get it out there in the aether. Is that next year Steamboat Willie, which is of course the very first Mickey Mouse cartoon, is going to enter the public domain. Now, Disney has done an amazing job of paying off politicians so that they can keep all of their stuff, under copyright or trademark laws. Well, right now they've kind of angered both sides of the political spectrum, and it's not working out for them. So, Steamboat Willie, they've continually been able to trademark it, considering it is the first appearance of Mickey Mouse. Not the first appearance of Peg Leg Pete, but sort of the modern style that he is drawn in, because originally he was just drawn as a bear with a peg leg. Now that Steamboat Willie kind of brought him on, and of course we know him as Pete from a Goof Troop, obviously, and other appearances, but originally he had a peg leg, and you see that in Steamboat Willie. So this is actually true. There, no one is renewing the trademark on this, and I have a feeling we're going to see a lot of Willie the Mouse parodies coming soon that will serve as mockeries of Disney, considering the state, just the bad reputation they have in the industry. They're known for doing lawsuits against other film companies for trying to do princess and prince films. They're known for suing companies in other countries that actually had products before that slightly resembled them, but their origins were earlier than Disney's. One of the most famous ones is they sued the creators of Kimba the White Line to try to prevent one of the Kimba films from coming into America. However, Kimba existed long before The Lion King, which is what they were saying. It's too much like The Lion King. And in fact, a lot of people have noted that the early art, how Simba was drawn, was white. Now, later, Kimba became Jungle Emperor Leo. I think Japan did that just because Simba dominated the conversation. I'm not up on my Jungle Emperor Leo lore. I remember watching a few episodes when I was a kid. It used to be air on TBN of all places, but I wasn't like huge into it like a lot of other people are. So, on to another rumor. Kathleen Kennedy is fired. So, this rumor has been around since The Last Jedi. I think, and she's survived now two Disney CEOs. I don't think she's going anywhere for the time being. Now I will say a lot of this is based on how well Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny goes. So if for those of you who are Star Wars fans, if you want Disney's um, sort of direction, how they're taking the Star Wars lore to change, you want Kathleen Kennedy out of there, then don't go see Dial of Destiny. Don't. I do believe her job hinges on this, but I don't believe the rumors that she's practically out the door. She's got an ironclad contract. I'm actually hearing opposite rumors. Now I know a lot of YouTubers who are more on my side of things in the pop culture war, this sort of fandom menace type folks, and they have been talking about Kathleen Kennedy's departure for years now. There was even rumors that this year's Star Wars Celebration was going to be her swan song. She was going to take credit for all the successes, none of the failures, and she was just going to resign. I actually didn't believe that. What surprised me was all the announcements she made, which I do believe the rumor that those were unexpected. I think she just threw those out there so she could get another contract. She's trying to do the Amy Pascal thing. So what happened was, Amy Pascal was a producer at Sony Pictures. She was not responsible, but she was for what happened. But she was definitely riding the ship, or I should say piloting the ship, when the big hack happened, when all these movies got hacked from Sony. A lot of her emails got leaked where she was like bashing some of the directors and the stars of different upcoming films. Several movies got canceled as a result of this. Some people say it directly hurt The Amazing Spider-Man 3. The Seth Rogen, James Franco comedy, The Interview, was leaked online. She was fired from Sony as a result, but she had like this contract that kept her in charge of the Venomverse, and so she's kind of been a barnacle on the side of Sony Pictures for a long time. They're trying to get rid of her, but her contract is so ironclad. She's basically running the Sony Spider-Man universe, and Kathleen Kennedy is trying to do that with Star Wars. So even if she gets fired, she's going to be stuck on it, at least for some of the non-Star Wars properties. So like Willow, Indiana Jones, and other ones that are upcoming. That could be true. Not really sure, but in my opinion, I think she will get a contract renewal just because Disney is so stubborn right now. They've made it absolutely clear that they don't care about the fans. So here's another one that I heard, is that Pixar and Disney Animation Studios are going to merge. Perhaps they're going to take Disney Animation Studio name. Perhaps they're going to take the Pixar name. Perhaps they're going to be called Disney Pixar. Whatever the case may be. If this had happened a couple of years ago, I would have said this would have made sense to me, especially since Disney has abandoned 2D animation completely. I know some people are like, oh, but there's some 2D animation in Wish. No, it's not. It's CGI with 2D models, not the like Tom and Jerry was, not the same thing. It's becoming a lost art. One of the reasons I'm such a big promoter of anime is anime still does that hand-drawn animation. The anime studios do need to treat their artists better, but because they're so insanely talented. But that's one reason that I promote that. I would say that this rumor probably is true. Both Disney Animation Studios and Pixar, their brands have been severely damaged. So it's kind of in this. They're kind of in the same situation, and I hate to use Sony again as an example, but when Sony was running Funimation, they developed a really bad reputation with the animation studios. And we all remember the Funimation app and everything. It had a lot of hiccups, and they kind of spoiled the milk with a lot of their with dealing with a lot of anime. They were constantly being accused of censorship, and some of the stuff that they censored I thought was kind of benign. Some stuff I get why they censored it. It wouldn't have made sense to an American audience. But they shouldn't have censored it. They should have just kind of rephrased it is what I mean. Rephrasing it so your audience will understand it better is not the same as censoring. So for instance, in Pokemon, which I know Pokemon was not handled by Funimation, but just as an example, there's a scene where in the early ones, I think the Orange Island quest, where Ash and Brock are eating, and I think Misty's there too, and they pull out some rice balls, but they refer to them as jelly donuts, not rice balls in the English dub. And I didn't consider that censorship. They just didn't. It's just rice balls is not a common snack in America, so they were like, hey, let's make them jelly-filled donuts. Nothing wrong with that, but people were calling that censorship. That's not censorship. It's just a dumb way to make the characters more relatable to the localized audience. Now, there have been other censorships of Pokemon. There's an episode where there's a character who carries around a gun, and when it was airing on Kids WB, they totally cut out that episode, and as a result, there was like a lot of continuity errors in the show because they cut that out. So yeah, and that was happening with Funimation. So when they bought Crunchyroll from Warner at the time, Warner Brothers, they actually just changed their whole brand to Crunchyroll because Crunchyroll had a better relationship with the or excuse me, with the anime studios as a dub studio is what I mean. So they just totally took over that brand, just absorbed Funimation into it. With Disney, I could see them trying to do that where they'll just going to say, okay, just Pixar as our animation studio. But now Pixar's reputation has been ruined because you could go, even if prior to Disney kind of inserting political correctness into their kids movies, Pixar was kind of a safe haven. So like Luca, Onward, Soul, all of those are really fantastic films, and they were coming out while Disney was meddling with their properties. But then, they took a heavier hand in dealing with Pixar. They bought Blue Sky Studios. They brought a lot of those animators on, which I'm really sad about that. I thought Blue Sky had a lot of potential. They just made their parent company, which was Fox, which Disney acquired, made a lot of mistakes. Now, since they own the Blue Sky brand, maybe Disney could reformat their animation stuff to Blue Sky. But especially since the Disney Animation Studio is now mostly doing computer generated animation, I think that it honestly doesn't matter which way they go. They could absorb Pixar, or Pixar could absorb the animation studio, and no one really bat an eye because both those brands have been severely damaged by really crappy decisions from Disney. So who knows? I don't know where it's going to go. So there's this other rumor that they're actually thinking of selling Lucasfilm, and I think this, in my humble opinion, this is, I've been given a lot of maybes, but this one I don't think is true. They spent a lot of money to acquire Lucasfilm, and I don't think they're going to let it go. What I think is more likely going to happen is they're going to put stuff on pause. So I know Kennedy announced like a whole bunch of new projects, but a lot of those are officially not even launched yet. So, they're like, for instance, the movie with Daisy Ridley, they don't have a script for that. People just know Daisy Ridley is going to return as Rey Palpatine. So I don't think they're going to sell Lucasfilm. And like I said at the beginning of this video, I could be wrong about this rumor. I think it's more likely that what's going to happen is after Ahsoka leads into the film that's going to sum up all of this, right? I think what's more likely going to happen is that they're just going to put things on pause for a while. Like, they'll still do animation stuff. So like Tales of the Jedi, Visions, and The Bad Batch will still be around. They might even bring back Rebels. But I think they're going to put things on pause for a little bit. And we're going to see it see it rolled back a little bit. Like they paused the movies for a while after Solo lost money and after the poor reaction to The Rise of Skywalker, which should have been called The Rise of Palpatine. But, neither here nor there. So I think after we see that, we'll see another pause, is what I'm trying to say, especially if Dial of Destiny doesn't do very well. But I don't think they're going to offload it. Like I said, they spent way too much money on that. Now, we might see them try to fold it into Disney proper, so it won't be Lucasfilm anymore. More than likely, it'll go to Touchstone or maybe even just Disney. But yeah, I'm not seeing that happen. I just think that if they were to sell it, I would hope that they would sell it to Paramount, even though Paramount is doing a terrible job with Star Trek. Paramount is doing a good job with their films. So perhaps if Paramount picked it up, or if Warner Brothers Discovery, which I hope they don't pick it up because they're doing a terrible job with DC right now. But I, it's one of those things. Maybe Sony would do a good job. Sony seems more interested in at least kind of listening to the fans. Even though even though their stuff isn't that great in regards to their own Spider-Man universe. I just did a video on that, but I just don't see them offloading it. One rumor that's been around for a while is that they're thinking about closing the comic book arm of Marvel Entertainment. That's certainly possible because the floppies have been doing so poorly. I think that what I mean by floppies is individual comics. I think that that could be a possibility. We'll just see them go to the Marvel app, which I think is called Marvel Universe, if I'm not mistaken, where you can do a digital one. But I think that'll hurt it more. I don't think people are going to be interested in that. I think that we'll see a lot more re-releases of popular story arcs, and which is how DC is staying afloat. Is even though their individual stuff isn't selling that well outside of Batman, you're seeing their re-releases of story arcs and graphic novel forms are doing very well. That's what's keeping DC Comics afloat. So it's possible that Marvel may go to that kind of attitude. They certainly are releasing some on in that way, but yeah, I can kind of see that. But if they, because Disney is like putting trigger warnings on stuff, it would not surprise me if if they'll release them with trigger warnings, but who knows? But yeah, I don't think that's a true rumor as well. Um, it goes back and forth. Now, this rumor is kind of defunct now, but I just wanted to address it because I had addressed it in a previous video. So when Bob Chapek was still CEO, there was a rumor that he wanted to bring back John Lasseter as the head of Pixar because the guy who Bob Iger put in after he fired Lasseter for hugging someone, um, he has run Pixar into the ground. The projects that were still in process while Lasseter was there, even if they were released afterwards, they had some success. So that guy was able to say, "Hey, see how I'm leading this company very well." But then the stuff he's released post that, like Lightyear, has been abysmal. And I know Lightyear was in the planning stages when Lasseter was still there, but Lasseter wanted it done correctly. So there was a rumor going around that because Skydance immediately hired Lasseter to run their animation department, and he immediately pinched people from Disney and from Pixar. In fact, I heard that they brought on some of the Blue Sky people to fill in the gaps because they were losing so many animators to Skydance. And of course, they released their first one, Look, on Apple TV. I think that was a mistake. They should have released it in theaters. I think they should have done that. Now, they might have had some first look deal with Apple TV, but I think that would have made more sense. Because of that, I didn't get to see it. I'm not a subscriber to Apple. I don't use Apple products in my personal life, other than I have like one old iPod that I still keep around, but I don't use Apple products. I find, like many corporations, they do things that are abhorrent. In their case, I think that they do more abhorrent things than most companies. They're very sinister as a corporation, very similar to Disney in some ways. And all that to say, I think that rumor is probably not true. I don't think Bob Iger is going to bring back Lasseter. He would have to go back with a big paycheck and his tail between his legs. And if one thing, he's a huge egotist. So I don't think that is going to happen. But who knows? We'll have to wait and see. There's one final one. I know this video is a little bit longer, but it's Friday. One final one is who will replace Bob Iger. And many names were floated around, but Bob Chapek fired one of the proposed successors to the kingdom. Bob Iger fired one of the proposed one. Her name escapes me from the moment, but she was basically number 2 at Marvel. The guy that Bob Chapek hired was in charge of Disney Television. So that's 2 people gone. So I don't know if I was Disney, if I was the Disney board, I would hire fresh blood. I wouldn't hire from within the company. Disney likes to do that because they consider themselves a family corporation, but I don't think I don't. But if I was them, I would go a different route or hire someone who's been gone for a while to come back, who knew what Disney was. Even when Michael Eisner was running it, because Michael Eisner made a lot of mistakes. I will readily admit that, but he still knew Disney. He still knew Disney's fans, what they were looking for. I don't think they should bring him back. So like I said, there at the end, he was there too long too. And I think we're seeing that with Bob Iger. So I hope that when all this goes down, I hope whenever Bob Iger finally is leaving Disney, I hope that they bring on either someone who's fresh with new ideas, who understands the fans, or they bring in a warhorse from the good old days. I actually met one time a guy who was considered to be the CEO of Disney. I'm not going to say his name because I want to keep this in confidence. And he was actually a candidate for Disney. He sat on for Disney CEO. He was approached to be the Disney CEO, and he actually turned it down because of his loyalty to he was friends with Roy Jr., and he turned down the CEO chair out of loyalty. Or this is how he tells it. I've never met Roy Jr. to confirm this, obviously, but he said, I was too loyal to Roy Jr., and when Disney chased him out, I couldn't see myself taking his spot on the board. And then for a while, they brought Roy Jr. back. So, and he did a fantastic job. That was prior to Michael Eisner. So, who knows? I don't know where this is going. Disney is making a lot of irrational decisions, not just on their films and their subsidiaries, but just in general. They're making a lot of bad decisions. So, who knows where this is going to go? There was a guy who was going to try to stage a coup and do a hostile takeover at Disney. He seems to have put those plans on hold. But if I was him, I would get back to it. There is just no way that I see this happening. One other thing I wanted to address before I close this video is apparently Rian Johnson's Star Wars film is back, because I had heard it was officially canceled, but apparently Kathleen Kennedy is going around telling people it's still in the works. I don't know how, but it's just not a trilogy anymore. With this, I don't think this is going to happen. Rian Johnson divided the fandom worse than Red Letter Media did back in the day. So I don't know where this is going to go, but I'm all confused now, and I'm sure you are too. But like I said, longer form video. Let me know in the comments what you think is more likely. Do you think I'm wrong about things? Did you hear something I didn't hear? Please let me know in the comments. I would love to hear your thoughts, and tell me what you think. What would you like to see? Would you like to see Star Wars or Marvel go to a different film company? Certainly when Paramount had control of the MCU, it was way better. That's just objectively true. Disney kept it going for a little bit, but Paramount had it on track. So I don't know where that could go, and I don't know why, but we're here, and we're just going to have to wait and see how far Disney is going to take their war with the fans and with the American public at large. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you'll give it a thumbs up, that you'll leave me a comment and tell me what you think, that you'll share it out with your friends, and of course, consider subscribing to StudioJake. I cover all kinds of nerd and pop culture topics, including film, television, anime, comic books, and so much more. I hope that you'll also head over to my main website, StudioJakeMedia.com, where I have even more news, views, and commentary. Also, if you'd like to support the channel, head over to my locals page. That's studiojakemedia.locals.com. It's the best way to support me. I'm trying to build a little community there. I have exclusive reviews and articles, so definitely head over there and check it out. And I'll see you next time, right here on Studio Jake.